Hello everyone, my name is Ella, and I have a twin sister. You've probably heard about the special bond twins have. In case you're not familiar, there's a special connection between twins that most cannot understand. I'll be honest, it's pretty awesome. My sister, Milena, and I understand each other better than anyone, even than our own mom. But my mom really doesn't like it when I say that. For some reason, she hates it when I start talking about Milena. In this story, I'll tell you why. My sister Milena and I are actually very different. We have different tastes, habits, and it's almost like we're not family. But this is normal, as no siblings exist who are completely alike. In our case, we look as similar as we are different inside. I remember as a kid that I always chose pink dresses in the store, but Milena always chose blue. I loved fruits, but my sister loved vegetables. Also, usually parents like to dress twins the same, but my mom always dressed us differently since we wanted different clothes. But the older we got, the more my mom paid attention to me and not Milena. I didn't understand why this was happening. I wanted her to be treated the same as I was, or at least to spend a little more time with Milena, so she wouldn't feel so jealous. But she never was anyway. Every time my parents took me for a walk, to the store, to the park, they got dressed and got only me. For a long time, I sat in my room before going out and explained to Milena that I had no choice in the matter. I asked her not to be mad at them, and she tried her best to be okay about it. Other than that, we've always been inseparable. She was friends with my friends. We got food together, went to school together, chatted for hours about stuff, especially before going to sleep. Mom said that I was laughing and talking too loudly, and she asked me to be quiet. Milena always giggled at this. I know they love you, Milena, I told her, and she told me that she doesn't exist for them. But I didn't want to hear about it, because I loved her very much and I didn't want her to feel lonely. And to be honest, I felt it too. I felt this injustice from my parents. I really did get more attention and love. My parents were happy to make me breakfast, showered me with presents for Christmas. They even took me to restaurants without Milena, and over the years, I realized more and more how unfair this was. I got older. I decided I wanted to make up for it. I saved up and decided to take Milena to my favorite cafe to eat pancakes. I knew that she loved them, so we went there. I didn't invite anyone else. I decided to spend time that evening just with my sister, to make it our day. As I expected, my parents only got me a gift, and that made me upset for Milena. I decided to give my gift to her so that she wouldn't be sad. Milena thanked me and told me to keep the present for myself because she didn't need it. All I want is to celebrate our day together. I don't need any presents, she said. Milena was never very sentimental, and I was very moved when she said, I want you to be happy, and you should never worry about me, because I will always be there for you, she said. It was so heartfelt and genuine. Despite all our disagreements and differences, she still cared about me more than anyone, sometimes even more than my parents. We sat in a cafe until I finished my burger. Milena, as always, didn't eat anything. She just sat there and ate nothing, unlike me. Then a guy sat down at our table. He literally sat down opposite of me, next to Milena, and without noticing her, he introduced himself. I asked him what he wanted and told me to go away, but he didn't say anything. He just said I was cute and asked for my phone number. I looked at Milena. She whispered to me to not give him my number, because he was no good. I listened to her, and told him that he was disturbing us. Us? What do you mean? You waiting for your boyfriend? He asked. Damn it, I was so angry. What kind of person asks such stupid questions? Milena suddenly said that he looked like our old classmate. As muscular, but dumber. At that moment, I remembered Jimmy and laughed so hard that the stranger looked around in embarrassment. I thought, yeah, he should be embarrassed at himself. I asked him to kindly leave politely, but he just chuckled and then said I was weird. Milena waved goodbye to him, and I said that I didn't like him anyway. Then I asked her what she meant by bad intentions. She told me that there are people with impure thoughts, for which she could tell immediately. I wish I had this ability. It would be so useful, I told her. And she told me, you already have me. Besides, you have a more impressive talent. You eat burgers in no time. I laughed. I was very lucky with my sister. It's a pity that many underestimate her, including our parents. But I never do. I know her worth. Maybe that's why she loved me most. And then the fun began. When we left the cafe, the guy who was trying to hit on me ran up to me and asked again for my phone number, but I said no again. I started walking faster, took Milena's arm and tried to not look at him. Then he grabbed my arm. Get away from her, Milena shouted. And already angry, I screamed at his face. Can't you hear? My sister told you to fuck off. He looked at me in surprise. Just then, I stepped to the side of the road to cross it. He looked at me, then asked, What sister? It's just you and me here. At the moment, I saw a bright flash of headlights, the sound of brakes, and an abrupt pain. It was as if I fell asleep, only it was a weird dream, like real life. Milena and I ran around and played at my grandma's house on the farm. Milena was a wild girl and never listened to anyone. She also loved horses. While the grown-ups were having dinner, we ran into the stables. She really wanted to feed Achilles, Grandma's horse, with an apple. I felt this was a bad idea, but she insisted. She took an apple and ran to the horse. He behaved strange, was very restless, and when she handed him an apple, he stood up and then landed with force. Then, I remember, I was scared. I screamed. Milena laid there unconscious and didn't breathe. I quickly opened my eyes and took a deep breath. My mom was sitting next to me, stroking my hand. She asked how I was feeling, and I was just looking for my sister. I had a strange dream, as if Milena had died. There was Achilles, and she fed him, and just some nonsense. Mom, I'm fine, but what happened? I asked. Mom suddenly burst into tears. She said that I was hit by a car. Where's Milena? Is she fine? We had dinner, and then I don't remember anything. Darling, she's imagining her again? Mom asked in tears. I didn't understand what she meant by imagining. I mean, she's always with me. Then my mom said, This is not a dream, Ella. Milena died when you were little. She was hit by Achilles. All these years you've been imagining her, but she was no longer with us, my mother said and continued to cry. Her words sobered me. It hurt so bad that it became hard to breathe. The doctor said that my depression and shock hadn't gone away after the passing of my sister, and given that we were twins, we had a special bond. I understood this, but at times I feel like she comes to me and is with me again. These moments make me feel so happy because I get to see her again. If you liked the video, then leave a like and comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe. Hello everyone, my name's Jules. I have a sister named Claire, and if you ever saw her, you would be surprised. Someone who doesn't know her can hardly believe that she's a girl, and all because of her masculine appearance. But you know, she has a reason for that, and now I will tell you all about it. If you met my sister and me a few years ago, you would see two normal girls having fun outside. I just loved riding the bike. Claire loved roller skates. Our dad bought them for us every year because we used them so much that the bikes and roller skates could just not keep up with us and broke down. I loved it when it was like this. I wake up on a summer day, go down for a delicious breakfast, chat with mom and dad, and then go with Claire to a park or square, not far from home, and ride until the evening. At this time, our biggest problem was how to persuade our parents to have some more ice cream. A carefree life. That's what it's called. Claire was a couple of years older than me. I liked the way she dressed. Pants, blouses, shoes. She had gorgeous golden hair. I've never seen anyone else able to move so smoothly in heels like her. And then everything changed. Life became different. Our parents were forced to leave us in the care of our aunt. Our aunt my parents trusted, and you know, they never made a bigger mistake. I really did not want to live with her. I kept saying that I would go with them to another country, but they only laughed, promised that they would come back soon. They had urgent business to take care of. Mom reassured me that because Claire was with me, and we would be fine. As soon as they left, Aunt Lisa immediately took off her mask. She was very old school, so she never used the internet. There was no computer or Wi-Fi in her house. She took away our phones, saying that it was for our own good. Our parents promised to send her monthly money for our expenses, plus paying her extra for taking care of us. Claire was sure that she just sold our phones, that's all. So we were cut off from our parents. The first 2 weeks, they called on home phone. My mom asked her sister to give us the phones back, but my aunt said, "No way, my house, my rules." It was impossible to argue with her, but then our life turned to hell, and no one knew about it except me and my sister. Aunt Lisa gave us a room in the basement. It was damp, and sometimes I heard weird noises. I was scared, and only my sister calmed me down. We lived in such harsh conditions for a couple of months. During this long period, Claire had changed a lot. She got into fights with our aunt every day because of me. She literally had to fight for extra food for me, and she herself was always hungry. Claire did household chores as our aunt asked. She went to school in the morning, and when she came back, she would clean and wash everything. I felt sorry for her, so I tried to help, but my sister felt sorry for me. It felt bad to watch her go from a once beautiful girl to some housekeeper or servant. She no longer had a smile on her face. She became more and more withdrawn. And one time, some people came to my aunt's house They were looking for her. Only then we realized that she owed a large amount of money to some serious people. Claire opened the door, explained that she was not at home, but when they saw us, they began to laugh out loud. "You're pretty," said one of them to Claire. She hit him on the arm as he tried to touch her cheek. He got angry and tried to grab her, but she fought back hard. I didn't even know she knew how to defend herself like that. In just a couple of minutes, she managed to knock the stranger out, and then they saw me. I didn't have time to escape, and Claire was near me in a second. She defended me so fiercely that I didn't even have time to really understand what happened. Then, my aunt entered the door. She began to apologize, kneel in front of them, and asked for forgiveness. Somehow, she swore that she soon would have the money and they left. The same evening, we heard her asking for money from our parents. She said that it was for school. Our parents sent only a couple thousand. They felt embarrassed. We desperately wanted to talk to them, but my aunt was lying to them. She said that we were sleeping. And so it was like that for months. She made up anything to keep us away from the phone. One night, Claire said it was time for us to leave the house. At first, I discouraged her, but she said that she could no longer live like this. Then I agreed. We packed our things, waited for my aunt to fall asleep, and ran out of the house. We ran in the middle of the night for a very long time. I didn't know where we were running to and how we were going to live. And only a couple of hours later, when we finally stopped at a motel room, for which we paid with our last money, Claire began to cry. For the first time in so many months, I saw her crying and I felt so sorry for her. I hugged her and said that our parents would come back soon and everything would be fine, but she only hugged me tighter in return. In the morning, we woke up, had a modest breakfast, and Claire started looking for an internet cafe to find out Dad's work address. We managed to find something, sent an email to my dad's work email, and then we just had to wait. We sat near a phone booth. Time passed slowly. Suddenly the phone rang. We were so happy, and as soon as we reached the phone booth, a man dropped the call. It was him, the same stranger that visited my aunt. The other men surrounded us. This time there were more of them. They managed to push us into a car where our aunt was sitting. She began to tell us in a threatening voice that we have misbehaved and that if we promise to remain silent, she won't harm us. Claire spat in her face. Then she said that she would call our mom, and when she arrives, those criminals would be waiting for her. Everything was crystal clear. I could not believe that our aunt was a criminal. So we came to her house. Aunt Lisa locked all the doors, said that as soon as she got the needed amount from our parents, she would let us go. But for now, she locked us in a room. But this time, in a different one, and even had a guard next to it. She spent one day there, and then Claire again began to plan our next actions. And then we agreed that I would play along. Claire began to cry out for help. She began to scream that I felt bad. "She's choking! Help! Doctor!" she shouted. The man outside the door got really scared. I pretended to feel bad and had seizures on the floor. My aunt opened the door, but she was in no hurry to call an ambulance. Then Claire said that if I died, my aunt would have to answer before our parents. The strangers immediately ran away, and our aunt called an ambulance. As soon as the doctors arrived, she made an angel out of herself, as if trying to help. While the doctors were examining me, my sister skillfully slipped a note to one of the doctors. He immediately understood everything, said that I needed to be hospitalized. My aunt tried to resist, but the doctor told her that I could die. Claire jumped into the car with me, and my aunt said that she would also go, but the doctor said to go in her own car because there was no more room. On the way to the hospital, we told the doctor our story, and he called the police. When we arrived at the hospital, the police came from around the corner and approached my aunt. She tried to defend herself and then run away. My sister and I gave all the evidence against her, and she was arrested. And then they went to look for those criminals. We spent the night at the hospital. We were examined, fed, and finally, for the first time in a long time, we managed to fall asleep. The next morning, we were awakened by screams in the hallway. Those came from our parents. They came running to us in tears. They looked so frightened. Finally, the whole nightmare was left behind. Mom kept saying that my aunt would pay for everything, but we didn't really want to hear about her. In the end, we were just glad that we were all right. So what happened next? It all went according to law. But that's a different story. Now, we live with Mom and Dad, and they promised that they would never trust anyone again. Only a month later, Claire began to become more of herself. She wore her heels again and let loose her gorgeous hair. It was a good sign. I realized that if not for my sister, then something terrible might have happened. But I have her, and I'm so happy. If you liked the video, then leave it a thumbs up and write a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe.